Hi, my name is Marianne McCann, and I'm here with my painting project for January of 2026. So this is a painting here. It's 3 by 4 foot. It's a painting of my father, and this painting is titled June 6, 1944. And it's my father when he was 19 years old, and he's at Omaha Beach in the Normandy Invasion. And here's a Higgins boat, and he's gonna jump off the boat with the other soldiers and go through a hellacious oceanscape. And there's going to be stuff back there. Hellacious, I don't know, dead bodies, sinking boats, tanks. There's going to be a bunch of stuff, which I haven't figured out yet. So I've got a month to do this painting. So a little backstory is I started this painting a while ago. I had the idea for it probably like a year ago. And I'm just going to take you really quick through how I do this ideation and like sketches, and then how I go to a final painting. So sometimes I make studies that are more finalized, but this is actually a this is actually a sketch for this painting. Okay, so I did a couple sketches. I think this was my first sketch, and I did research for sketch. And this was the second sketch, pretty much the same thing, just with a different outfit, more of the outfit. So you can see I wanted the beach, the guns, the mayhem all around, and I had this idea that I wanted the dog tag. So here's going to be the dog tag. I wanted him to be like swinging around, and the dog tag like flinging through the air, but somehow magically stuck like this, so you could read his name on it. I've settled for just it's coming out of his, I had this facial, I had to make his pose, like I had these pictures of his face, and it's very, I think it's his high school graduation picture, something like that. And these are the pictures that I worked from for his face. And I've done the face, and I did it pretty loose and pretty fast, and I think it looks like me. And I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to try and first fix his outfit and get that olive green drab and get the details. Like these are going to be these kinds of grenades called pineapple grenades, which I have pictures of in my research, and the fabric, the olive drab fabric kind of stuff that I purchased kind of when I was a teenager, like in Army Navy surplus stores in LA where I grew up. But this would have been the outfit, and he would have had a pack on. This would have been the kind of rifle he had. I think it's called an M1 Grand, and I was lucky enough to. I know a neighbor of mine is a kind of a gun collector aficionado, and he actually had this kind of gun that would have been in the kit that the soldiers that ran onto the beach in Normandy in 1944 had, the American soldiers. Okay, so I know that's the exact rifle that he would have been carrying. And the dog tag, I have a picture. So I do photo reference. I have for a long time have files of photo reference stuff, and I have a picture file which I've collected magazine photos or newspaper photos, clippings, and I have them filed according, a lot of animals. I have them filed according to animals, and this one is World War II, D-Day. And there's a little tiny picture of a, I don't know if you can see it, it's of a dog tag. So that's how the letters would look impressed into that piece of metal. And I'm gonna make that up for my father. That's kind of going to be one of the next things I'm going to paint. And also, I did other research. I bought this book, History of World War II, and it has this famous Higgins boat photo, which is what he would have been in, and jumped out. And this is I'm pretty much putting the famous Higgins boat photo in there. And I need to make these nets on the helmet. So I went to a World War II museum, and it was in Wolfboro, New Hampshire. it was amazing, actually. It was really great. And they had all the articles of clothing. They had guns. They had different, like if you were in the Army, what you would have had. If you were in the Navy, what you would have had. If you were in the Marine Corps, what your outfit would have looked like. What the barracks were like. What the culture was like in 1940s. Examples of cereal boxes or bubble gum or cigarette packages. Just, it was really amazing, the detail, and they had also tanks and weaponry and stuff. It was a pretty good museum. So I learned a lot from there, and a really nice curator let me go in the back, and they had a library, and I looked and I took pictures in some books that they had of certain things that I thought would be appropriate to my father's situation. So a lot of the things, there was a lot of paratroopers that were training in England, and they trained to jump out of planes. And on the same day that was the Normandy Invasion, they were flying the planes over, and they were, jumped out of planes into behind enemy lines to do whatever their mission was, behind. And I also read this amazing book. And this was by this person, an American, Henry Langmuir, and he was American paratrooper, and it has a lot of good information in here about. I read the book, and it was it's like his memoir of his events that happened in the war, but a lot of information about. General information about how they were training and how they got ready to go to the beaches and all that stuff. So this is pretty amazing too. So I read this, and plus I watched a lot of war movies, World War II, Normandy Invasion movies, just in general World War II movies. Now I remember a lot of them, watching a lot of black and white World War II movies when I was a child. Not a lot, but some. And then they stuck in my mind. Because I knew my father was that fought in that war, that he was in the Normandy Invasion, but he never spoke about it. So my mother and he were divorced when I was a young child, so I wasn't really raised with him. But my mother did tell me that when she asked him a couple times about his experiences during the war, and he could never talk about it. His eyes teared up and he would turn away. So he mentioned nothing about it. So then recently, I've been curious about it, and I tried to get his records and military records, and they're somehow unobtainable. And there was a fire at the record place in Kansas City, and then there was COVID and a bunch of stuff. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to make the painting, and I'm going to do the research the best I can, and I'm just going to make the painting. Okay, I'm just back from a snowy, cold dog walk, and now I'm going to get to work on my painting here. So I don't know if you can see right here, working on the dog tag. That may not have been his exact dog tag, but I'm making it up. Okay. So I'm still on the Higgins boat. I'm putting the nets on the top of the helmets. When I was at that museum in Wolfboro, the World War II Museum in Wolfboro, New Hampshire, they had a helmet and it had the net on it. It was that metal helmet, and they let me try it on. It's pretty uncomfortable, but it was a solid metal thing, and it was, supposed to help you from getting shot in your head. So then they had these nets that kind of fit over it, and I guess that was for camouflage. It was on the outside of the helmet. Or maybe you stuck, I've seen pictures where they stuck little bits of twigs or leaves or something in it to kind of hunch down and to be, invisible or camouflage. So today I'm sitting down and painting, but a lot of times I stand and paint. It's actually better to stand and paint and move around, I think, but I'm working near the bottom of the easel, so it's just more comfy. And I'm doing little detail work, so it's easier that way. So I've painted the Higgins boat, but now I have to find the photo reference for my father's outfit, and I think it's on the phone. So I'm shooting video with the phone, so I'm gonna have to hold the phone to look at the photo reference to paint this, and then go back and film it after. It's so much easier to do photo reference from pieces of magazine paper or holding an actual photo. But this is our world. So I'm learning a lot about what the kit that my father would have had with him when he launched onto the Omaha Beach there. And one of the things is these right here. I don't know if you can see, pineapple grenades. I think it was called an MK2 grenade, but popularly, anyway, it was referred to as a pineapple grenade. So that's what I'm painting right now. You know why I'm doing this? Because I'm delaying painting the scene, the really horrific scene, which that's going to be the hardest part for me. I don't know if I can make it as horrible as war really is. I mean, I want to try to do that. Already it's too happy. I can feel it's too happy, but we're going to keep going. I did a little color study in the middle of the painting, and I wanted to kind of determine the colors of the bloody waters. And I did a little dog portrait one night as a color study. Come here. Come here. I'm starting to put little people in the background, and while I'm painting, I'm watching World War II documentaries,
eventually securing the cemetery.
just to kind of get in the mood. Hi, this is January 23rd, 2026, and I want to tell you a story about why I painted the kit or the items that my father would have been carrying into the battle for so long, and why I hesitated on painting the actual battle scene, because when I was young, I went to Army and Navy surplus stores and I would buy things that were from the World War II veterans because I knew my father was in the war, and I would imagine, oh, maybe he carried this. And I had, when I was a teenager or in college, I had a olive drab fabric kind of bag, like the one that I painted on him. And I used that as a kind of a purse, and I carried my sketchbook around in it for many years. I loved it. And it was partially because I thought, oh, maybe my father had this exact thing. I had also bought other things over the years in Army Navy surplus stores, and I kind of imagined they would have been part of the kit. Maybe not exactly from my father. Once I had a leather ammo belt, and that was kind of more Lawrence of Arabia. But I've had other things. Oh, here's an example. These little things that, a kit like this, these little pouches that would be for ammo, and they hook on to the belt. So you would have had a lot of these on the belt, and I painted that on him in this painting. So I remember these things from my childhood, and then now I'm putting them on him here. And it's also a way to hesitate or like really think about doing the war part, because that's the hardest part, because that's the part I don't understand. I have no feeling for, but I have a feeling for little fabric things like this. The cardinals are out. Chickens are not out. Dog is waiting. So here I am painting these explosions on the beach, and this is supposed to be like sand blowing up, and this is these guns. These are the German guns on the. They had like these concrete turrets on the cliff, up on top of the cliff, and they would just rain the gunfire down, and probably they shot bigger things, like made bigger explosions. So that's what I'm doing here. And there's actually, it's not chaotic enough. I mean, I need to put more tanks in there and dead people, actually. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm making these explosions, and I'm just doing this little bit daily, painting a little bit daily, and building up this kind of chaotic scene. And there's going to be fire. I'm going to make the fire so it's really, so it really looks like fire. Thank you to two of my neighbors and a nice curator at the World War II Museum for help researching this painting. And thank you to all veterans for your service.